When it comes to property investment, one question never seems to go away. Between real estate development and rental houses, which one is the more profitable venture? I've asked myself that question many times, especially after walking past half-finished buildings in town and wondering whether the developer made a fortune or lost everything. Over the years, as I've watched friends build rental apartments while others flipped land and housing projects, I've realized that both paths can make you a millionaire, but they work very differently. And today, I'd like to walk you through both, not from a textbook, but from real-life experience and observation. I remember a friend of mine, Peter, who jumped into real estate development straight after his corporate job. He bought land on the edge of the city, secured approvals, hired a contractor, and built 10 modern apartments to sell. On the other side, there's Miriam. She took a quieter route. Instead of selling her property, she built 4 rental units behind her home. Every month, the rent covers her living expenses, pays off her small loan, and still leaves her with savings. It's not dramatic, no big lump sum profit, but it's steady. Over 5 years, she hasn't had to worry about inflation or losing her job. Her money works for her every month. That's the power of rental property. It's slow wealth, but it's secure wealth. When I look at both Peter and Miriam, I see 2 roads that lead to the same destination, financial freedom, but through completely different terrains. Real estate development is like running a sprint. You invest heavily, you push hard, you take big risks, and if everything goes right, you win big. Rental housing, on the other hand, is a marathon. It rewards consistency, patience, and good management. It won't make you rich overnight, but it will make you stable for life. So, as we dive into this series, I'd like to invite you to think with me. If you had $30,000 to invest today, would you build to sell or build to rent? Would you chase the fast profit of real estate or the reliable income of rentals? By the end of this journey, I'll share what I've learned from both sides. Not just numbers, but lessons from real projects, real people, and real results. Because in the end, understanding the 2 paths isn't just about choosing the more profitable one, it's about choosing the one that fits you. How real estate development works. Real estate development is one of the most misunderstood paths to wealth. From a distance, it looks easy. Buy land, build something, sell it, and walk away with a big profit. But behind every successful development is a long, complicated journey filled with planning, risk, stress, unexpected costs, and a level of patience many people don't naturally have. Development is not just about construction, it's about vision. It's about seeing value in a place long before others notice it. It's about turning empty land into something people want to live in, work in, or invest in. And it is this ability to create new value, rather than simply buying something that already exists, that makes development such a powerful wealth-building strategy. The development process always begins with land, but it is not just about finding any piece of land. It is about finding land in a place where growth is coming. A developer looks at signs the average person ignores: population movement, new roads, shifting demographics, commercial expansion, and the subtle ways neighborhoods evolve. Then comes the paperwork, permits, approvals, designs, cost plans, environmental assessments, all before even digging the first foundation trench. After that comes construction, the most unpredictable stage, where timelines shift, budgets stretch, workers delay, weather interrupts, and challenges appear one after another. And finally, if everything goes according to plan, you end up with an asset worth more than the money you put in. Development can make you rich quickly, but only if you can survive the storm to reach the finish line. To understand all of this more clearly, let me take you back to the real story of Peter, because his experience explains development better than any textbook ever could. Peter didn't start with wealth or special connections. He started with a small savings account and a bold decision. He found a piece of land that most people overlooked, a quiet, unassuming location that didn't excite anyone. But Peter paid attention to what others ignored. He noticed that more families were moving toward that side of town. He saw small businesses opening, roads improving, and property prices rising slowly. While others dismissed the area as still developing, Peter saw opportunity. He wasn't buying what existed. He was buying what the area would become. Once he purchased the land, he stepped into the world of development, a world that challenged him more than anything he had done before. The planning phase took longer than he expected. Getting designs drawn, submitting them for approval, revising them, negotiating with inspectors, sorting out boundaries. Each step was slow and came with unexpected costs. He once told me, "I thought buying the land was the hard part. I had no idea the real work hadn't even started." Then came construction, the stage that truly tested him. From the very first month, delays appeared. Workers didn't show up some mornings. Material suppliers changed prices without warning. A storm hit the site halfway through the foundation, flooding it and forcing him to redo a section of the work. An expensive setback. There were days he stood in the middle of the site wondering whether he had made a terrible mistake. Development doesn't give you instant reassurance. It forces you to make decisions when you're tired, uncertain, and afraid of losing everything. But slowly, the structure began to rise. Walls went up, roofs took shape, and Peter finally started to see the building match the vision he had held for months. That moment is what every developer lives for. The moment when the project shifts from being a set of drawings and worries into something real, something tangible. When the construction was completed, Peter put the units up for sale. And this is where development shows its true power. The property sold faster than he expected, and the profit he walked away with was more than what many people earn in several years of full-time employment. But what people saw, Peter built houses and made money, is only the surface. What they never saw were the sleepless nights, the calculations, the setbacks, the fear, the decisions, the pressure from contractors, or the moments he questioned everything. Development rewarded him, yes, but it made him fight for that reward. Peter's journey reveals the real nature of real estate development. It's not a smooth, straight path. It's a mix of vision, risk, stress, planning, and persistence. It demands confidence when no one else believes in your idea. It demands leadership, discipline, and the ability to keep going when everything feels like it's falling apart. But for those who can handle the pressure, development can transform your financial life in a surprisingly short time. One successful project can move you years ahead financially. That's the reality of development. Not easy, not simple, but incredibly powerful for those who are built for it. How the rental housing business works. Rental housing is one of the simplest and most reliable ways to build long-term wealth. Unlike development, where profits come in one big lump sum, rental property pays you slowly, consistently, and quietly over many years. It works on a very simple principle. You own a property, someone else lives in it, and they pay you for the right to stay there, month after month, without you having to trade your time or energy for that income. It's predictable, it's steady, and it grows even while you sleep. The beauty of rental housing is that it doesn't require dramatic risk. You don't need to build from scratch. You don't need to manage a construction site. You don't need to navigate endless paperwork or strict timelines. Instead, the journey often begins with a single unit. A small apartment, a rental room behind your main home, a duplex, or even a tiny Airbnb space. And once you have your first rental, the system naturally teaches you how to expand. The first tenant gives you confidence. The second builds momentum. The third and fourth begin to transform your financial reality. Rental housing works because it creates cash flow, a stream of income that comes whether you're working, traveling, resting, or taking a day off. And while you earn month after month, the value of the property itself increases in the background. So you're not only collecting rent, you're also building equity, slowly owning more of the property as time passes. This combination is what makes rentals such a powerful wealth-building tool. You earn today, and you grow tomorrow. Now let's talk about Miriam, because her story shows how rental housing works in real life, for real people, not just on paper. Miriam was not the kind of person who enjoys stress. She's calm, gentle, and steady. She doesn't chase big risks or dramatic profits. When she heard about Peter starting a large development project, she admired his courage, but she knew she didn't want that kind of pressure in her life. Her dream wasn't to build something big. It was simply to create financial peace. She started with what she already had, a modest home with extra space behind it. Most people would have left that space empty or used it for storage. But Miriam saw something else. She realized she could build a small rental unit. Nothing fancy, just a clean, comfortable space that someone would be happy to call home. She saved slowly, planned carefully, and built one small rental house behind her own. When the unit was completed, she didn't need to search long for tenants. Someone she knew, a young teacher, needed a place to stay close to her job. Miriam's rental was perfect. That first tenant began paying rent every month, and suddenly Miriam experienced something she had never felt before. Income that arrived without her working for it. A few months later, that rent started covering her utility bills. Then it began covering part of her loan repayment. Over time, the rental income started building her savings. She noticed something interesting. Unlike a salary, which disappears quickly when you begin spending, rental income always returned. Month after month, quiet, steady, reliable. Encouraged by this, Miriam added a second rental unit the following year. This time, a young couple moved in. Now she was earning double the income. Without changing her job, without taking on major risks, without managing construction chaos, she was slowly building her own financial foundation, brick by brick, tenant by tenant. What makes Miriam's story powerful is not just the money she earned, it's the stability she built. While others around her were stressed about layoffs, rising living costs, and unpredictable income, she had something solid, rent coming in, no matter what the economy looked like. Her rental units became her personal safety net, and as time passed, the value of her property increased. So not only did she earn monthly cash flow, she also became the owner of an asset appreciating in value year after year. That's the secret of rental housing. It doesn't shout. It doesn't shock. It doesn't give you big dramatic profits like development. But it gives you something far more important: security, predictability, peace, control over your financial life. And with enough time, it becomes a powerful tool for building generational wealth. Most people underestimate how transformative just 1 or 2 rental units can be. They think you need 10 or 20 to change your life. But Miriam proved that even one small rental can shift your financial direction. It can reduce your stress, stabilize your income, and give you room to breathe. Rental housing works because it grows with you. You don't need to be bold, you just need to be consistent. You don't need huge capital, you just need to begin. And once you begin, the system rewards you quietly, steadily, and for as long as you own the property. Capital, cash flow, and risk comparison. Development versus rentals. When people ask, which one is more profitable, real estate development or rental houses, they expect a simple answer. But the truth is, the right investment for you depends on 3 things: capital, cash flow, and risk appetite. These 3 factors decide everything. And when you compare them side by side, the differences between Peter's development journey and Miriam's rental strategy become crystal clear. Let's start with capital, because this is where the 2 paths separate immediately. Real estate development demands money up front. Even if you're doing a small project, you need funds for land, architectural plans, approvals, the contractor, materials, supervision, and emergencies. There is no such thing as a cheap development. Peter learned this the hard way. He thought he had enough money saved, but halfway through his project he realized the construction would cost more than planned. Material prices rose. Labor demanded higher wages. He had to dip into his emergency savings. That's development. No matter how well you plan, you always need more capital than you expect. Rental housing is different. It allows you to start smaller and sometimes start with what you already have. Miriam didn't buy a huge piece of land. She didn't build a block of apartments. She simply added a single rental unit behind her home, a modest, affordable project within her reach. Her starting capital was a fraction of what Peter needed. She wasn't racing against construction deadlines or facing the pressure of selling units quickly. Rentals let you grow slowly. Development forces you to grow fast. Now let's look at cash flow, the lifeblood of any investor. Development gives you no cash flow while you're building. Zero. For months or even years. You put money in and more money in, and even more after that, and nothing comes back until the project is complete. Peter felt this deeply. Every time he paid the contractor, every time he bought materials, every time something went wrong, his account got smaller. His project was silent. No income until the very end. And when the end came, it came loudly, with a big payout. But he had to survive the silence first. Rental housing is the opposite. It starts paying you as soon as you find a tenant. Even if the profit is small at first, the key is that it's consistent and predictable. When Miriam finished her first rental unit, she immediately had a tenant who paid her every month, without fail. That one tenant became her cash flow. When she built a second unit, her cash flow doubled. She didn't have to wait until the project was sold. She didn't need buyers. She didn't need to impress the market. Rentals pay you while you sleep, while you work, and while you live your life. And now, the biggest factor of all, risk. Development carries high risk. Very high. One mistake can cost you months of progress. One delay can destroy your budget. One miscalculation can turn a profitable project into a financial disaster. Peter came face to face with this risk many times. When the foundation was damaged by rain, he panicked. When contractors delayed work, he panicked. When the budget started running thin, he panicked. Development is a test of mental strength as much as financial strength. Not everyone survives it. Rentals carry lower risk. You're not building a massive structure from scratch. You don't rely on selling at the perfect time. You don't face pressure from banks to complete on schedule. And if one tenant leaves, another arrives. If repairs are needed, they are usually manageable. When you have rentals, your money is rarely at risk of disappearing completely. It grows steadily, protected by the constant demand for housing. Miriam never faced the kind of fear Peter did. Her risks were day-to-day things. Maintenance, occasional vacancies, normal property expenses, manageable risks. Here's the important truth. Development gives high profit with high risk and high capital. Rentals give moderate profit with low risk and low capital. Peter built wealth like a sprinter, fast, intense, and exhausting. Miriam built wealth like a marathon runner, steady, calm, and consistent. When development succeeds, it transforms your finances overnight. But when it fails, it can drag you down fast. Rentals will never give you overnight riches, but they will give you long-term financial security that doesn't disappear easily. So which is better? The real answer depends on you. If you have strong capital, broad shoulders for stress, and the patience to survive months without income, development can reward you massively, just like it rewarded Peter. If you prefer peace, stability, predictable income, and slow, steady growth, rentals will serve you well, just like they did for Miriam. In the end, both paths lead to wealth. But they take you there at very different speeds, with very different challenges, and with very different risks. 5. Market factors that decide profitability. When you compare real estate development and rental housing, it's easy to get stuck looking at the surface. How much money each venture makes, how much capital you need, or how long it takes to profit. But the truth is, the market is what decides everything. A brilliant project in the wrong market fails. A simple rental in the right market thrives. Profitability is never just about what you build. It's about where, when, and for whom you build it. The first major factor is population growth. Areas where people are moving in, because of jobs, affordable living, new industries, or growing suburbs, tend to favor both development and rentals. When demand is rising faster than supply, property prices climb. A developer may buy land for $50,000 today, and within 2 years, that same land could be worth $80,000, simply because more people want to live or invest in the area. That's appreciation driven by population movement. On the rental side, when more people move to a region, vacancy rates drop and landlords can raise rent without losing tenants. In markets where population grows steadily by even 2 to 3% per year, landlords often see rental income rise naturally. Another key factor is job creation and economic activity. When new companies, factories, or offices open in an area, the real estate market responds with incredible speed. Housing demand increases, developers sell faster, rents rise. For example, when a new manufacturing plant opens and creates 1,000 jobs, those 1,000 workers need places to live. Developers in that area often see their projects sell out months before completion. Landlords experience 95%, 99% occupancy rates. In strong job growth markets, rental prices can climb by 8% to 15% annually, far outperforming inflation. But one of the most dramatic forces that influence profit is infrastructure development. A new road, a major highway expansion, a train line, a hospital, or a university instantly increases the value of surrounding neighborhoods. A piece of land that was once considered too far suddenly becomes desirable. Property values can double in as little as 5 years. Rentals near new universities or hospitals can experience nearly permanent demand. For example, landlords near a new university often enjoy occupancy rates above 90%, even during economic downturns. Developers who build near upcoming infrastructure often enjoy higher selling prices and faster turnaround. Interest rates also play a major role. When interest rates are low, borrowing becomes cheaper. More people can afford loans. Developers can finance construction at a lower cost. Buyers can purchase homes more easily, increasing demand. In periods of low interest rates, development profits rise sharply because more buyers enter the market, pushing prices up. Conversely, when interest rates rise, developers struggle because mortgages become expensive, buyers hesitate, and projects take longer to sell. But interestingly, rental housing benefits from high interest rates because fewer people can afford to buy homes, so more people rent instead. That means landlords often experience higher demand during these periods, even raising rent while property purchases slow down. Another factor is market maturity. Emerging markets, areas just beginning to grow, tend to favor development. Land is cheaper, construction costs are manageable, and demand is rising. Developers can buy low, build fast, and sell at strong profits. In mature markets, where land is expensive and demand is stable, rental housing becomes more profitable. Property values may not skyrocket, but rents remain consistent and vacancy rates stay controlled. In such markets, landlords enjoy predictable, compounding income. The type of property also influences profitability. For example, student housing offers high rental yield, often between 8% to 12% per year, because students pay premium rent for small units close to campus. Meanwhile, luxury apartments may yield less rental income, but offer strong appreciation over time. Short-term rentals like Airbnb can generate 2 to 3 times the revenue of traditional rentals in tourist-heavy regions, but they require more management and can be affected by regulations. Developers building in high-demand tourist or business districts often earn strong returns, but they face intense competition and higher costs. Market cycles also matter. Real estate moves in waves: boom, peak, correction, and recovery. Developers benefit during booms when prices rise quickly and buyers are enthusiastic. But during slowdowns or recessions, projects can stall, buyers disappear, and profit margins shrink dramatically. On the other hand, rental housing tends to remain stable through all cycles. Even during recessions, people need housing. They may downsize, but they don't disappear. This makes rentals more resilient. In downturns, rental prices may drop slightly, but demand rarely collapses. And of course, local regulations shape profitability. Areas with strict building rules, slow approval processes, or heavy taxes make development harder and more expensive. Meanwhile, areas with landlord-friendly policies, investor incentives, or programs supporting affordable housing make rentals more profitable. A tax benefit alone can raise rental profitability by thousands each year. When all these factors come together, they produce very different outcomes. In a fast-growing, infrastructure-rich area with low interest rates and rising population, Development can easily generate 25% to 40% returns per project. But in a stable, high-demand city with expensive land and strong rental culture, rental houses can deliver 6% to 12% annual returns, with property values increasing quietly in the background. So which one is more profitable? It depends entirely on the market. Development thrives on rapid growth. Rentals thrive on long-term stability. Development wins during boom cycles. Rentals win during downturns. Development rewards the bold. Rentals reward the patient. Profit is never random. It's determined by understanding the market, its trends, its cycles, its people, and its future. And the investors who study these factors closely always make more money than those who simply follow what looks profitable.